Hi again, it's Andy from Nummech Products. Today I'm going over a couple new items we have for the Axe Pro 2015 version, as you can see in front of me. I've got the extended trigger guard and a foregrip extender, both of which will go on this gun. The installation procedure for both these items is very similar to one another. You basically have to take the frame off and then you unscrew some of the socket cap screws that are located in the top. And that's the reason I'm going to be going over both of them here at the same time. Just to get started, all you need is a set of Allen keys to remove this screw here located under the barrel. Pull that aside. You will need to reuse this, so don't lose it. And then the other screw holding the frame on is this one located in the back. You have to take the front screw off first because this back screw is kind of captured inside of the frame and you won't be able to get it out first, so you have to take the front screw out first. With the frame loose, you gently separate it from the marker body. You got to be careful here in the front because this connector is kind of fragile and you don't want to damage any of the pins. But once they're successfully loosened from one another, you can pull them apart. And the body I'm going to set aside, so you don't need to mess with that. Here's the marker frame. As you can see, located in the top, we have two screws. One of them is for the trigger guard and the other one is for the foregrip. Now, regardless of which product you want to install, you have to remove both the screws. There's no way around it. So I'm going to take off the foregrip just by cracking this screw loose, and I'm also going to crack loose the trigger guard screw. So remove the one for the foregrip and set that aside. Keep in mind most of these screws are the same, including the ones that ship with the foregrip extender. They're just a different color. So you don't have to worry about swapping them out. Now I'm taking out the screw for the trigger guard, and with that out, the trigger guard itself will pop free. Now the new trigger guard simply just slides into position exactly like the old one. There's no new hardware, you just reuse the screws you just had. So here we go, install that. Now, if you only wish to install the trigger guard, then you're basically finished. All you have to do is reinstall the foregrip, put the parts back together, and that's it. But I'm going to go the step further, which is to install the foregrip extender as well. Alright, so take a look at the hardware that you get with the foregrip extender. You get these two cap screws and then the extender itself. Now, these screws are the same size, like I said, as the rest of the screws being used in the marker. But we have to supply some extra ones because there's extra components here. So on the foregrip extender itself, this little bottom hump that's sticking off, this is a separate piece and you have to take it off in order to assemble it. It's simply held on using the screw from the top side. So I'm going to loosen that and put that screw with the rest. These three are the ones that you need. So the two pieces come apart like that. Ultimately what you want is for the foregrip to slide on like this, carefully install, and then this separate component goes onto the back. Now the problem is you have to install this little underside screw first, and it has to be done from the inside. So what you want to do is take this separate little piece and just put it right there in the top of the foregrip, and then take one of the new screws and drop it in through the top and tighten it down. And you should see something like this. This is exactly what you want. Now this assembled foregrip will go with the little extender bracket. You can see the male pins located right here will line up with the pins located in the extender on that little circuit board. So very, very, very carefully guide them into position. You have to be absolutely certain, looking at it from the front like that, to be absolutely certain that everything is aligned when you snap it together, because you don't want to bend any of those little pins or else you'll cause damage to your board. But as long as everything is together, you simply snap it in like that. And now you have two screws to install through the top of the extender located here and here. So again, just reuse it's the same ones that came with the extender, these little black ones. There's the front screw, and then here's the rear screw. And at this point, you basically have the new foregrip. This will now slide onto the trigger guard like that. Take one of the stock screws and drop it in through the top and just drive it into position like so. So here's your new frame. With or without the trigger guard, this is basically the extended frame. Before you go to assemble the marker, it's just a good idea to make sure that all these screws are snug. You don't have to over tighten them, but remember that they have to be tight enough they're not going to rattle free. But at this point you're ready to reassemble the frame to the body. So take your body and gently guide it through the top of the frame. And again, there's a couple things you got to be careful about. You got to be careful you're not going to misalign the pins in the front. And the other detail is that this screw that's located in the back of the frame prevents the frame and the body from being bolted directly together. So when you push the two together, you'll never be able to get it to seal up until you install the screw, or until you tighten it, I should say. So I'm going to start with that one because that's the one that's preventing everything from coming together. Get the Allen key to go down in there and you should be able to tighten this. Look how easy this is with a ball rounded Allen key. If you don't have these, it really makes life easy because you don't have to keep the screw perfectly aligned. There we go. So the rear screw is in position, the front is fully assembled. Now you just have to drop your last screw under the barrel hood and tighten that down. There you have it. Again, this is the Nummech Foregrip extender and the trigger guard. Go ahead and test it out. Make sure everything's working. Eyes work, solenoid works. I think you're ready to go. So I think that's about everything. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.